welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing online school and public school and telling you guys the pros and cons of both. So I have a pretty unique situation with school. I went to public school from kindergarten to grade 9, and then in grade 10 I was just really fed up with my school. I hated it and I decided that I wanted to join online school. So I did all online throughout grade 10. I did all my courses through there, and then in grade 11 I actually went to a split, which I'll explain a little bit later, like why I decided to do that. So I did half my classes in a public school and half of them online. So I kind of have a fairly unique situation, I guess you could say. Like, I've done a fair bit of both programs. So I thought I would tell you guys the pros and cons of both of these programs. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe down below if you're not already subscribed. It'd make me happy. And let's just get right on into today's video. So first off, I just wanted to say that obviously I cannot speak for all schools or all online programs. This was just my personal experience. So my online program that I took might be very, very different from your online program that you would take, and maybe they don't work exactly the same way that I'm talking about, or the same with public school. Maybe my school works in a much different way than yours does. This is just how mine did work and my experience with both of them. So I just want to throw that out there real quick, that this is just my personal experience with both of these. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the pros of online school. So the first pro that I think was definitely a big one for me is you could be very flexible with your schedule. So for example, I would have to get all my courses done by a certain time, but if there was a day where I didn't feel like doing math that day, I felt like doing science, I could do science all day if I wanted to, or work on another class also. I didn't have to do math that day. And maybe another day where I feel a little bit more in the mood to do math, I could spend more time on that. I mean, obviously, like, no one likes doing math, so like, you can't just push it off every single day, which I'll talk about later as well. But you can be a little bit more flexible with yourself and decide if you would rather work on something else or a different course. One of the main reasons that I actually quit public school was because I really felt like they wasted a lot of time. So public schools waste a lot of time because personally for me, when I was in online, I didn't work crazy days or anything. I just worked like 9 to 3, like most schools go. I still finished early. I was on summer break a month before all of my friends were, because I just didn't waste any time. When I was working on school, I was working on school. The other thing about online school, which may sound a little bit weird, is I actually had more teacher help. So you'd think that being an online student, you really wouldn't get any teacher help. There's been tons of people I've talked to that didn't even think I had teachers at all. But I did have a teacher for every class, just like you would in normal high school. And I could phone them, I could Skype them, I could text them if I had any questions. There was also something that I would do quite often for chemistry, where I would call my teacher and we would both connect to this little like whiteboard thing. Like, she would send me a link and then I could join and I could like write on the whiteboard, but it was like on my computer and on her computer, and she could write as well, and she would just teach me stuff on there. So it was really, really great about online school is I could really talk to them for as long as I needed, and it was very one-on-one. But in regular public school, your teachers have 20 plus students with them all the time that they're trying to help all at once, so you might not get that same amount of time for one-on-one help. So that was really one of the things that I really, really liked about online school, was that I could just call and get the help that I needed. The thing that I really, really liked about online school was that there was less tests. So in my program personally, how it worked was we had a midterm and a final, and those two exams were supervised. So I had to go into a school or something like that and have somebody watch me write the test to make sure I wasn't cheating or anything. But all the other tests and unit tests and quizzes or whatever, we definitely had less of them than they have in public school. And also when I did have them, we could use our notes for them. So they were all open book. I didn't really have to study for a test unless it was those two exams that I talked about, which I really, really liked, because I definitely don't do well on tests. So this was a huge pro for me, that I didn't have to be writing an exam every single week like sometimes I would have to do at public school. The last really big pro that I found when it came to online school is it taught me how to be an independent learner. At public school, I found that I was very dependent on my teachers. I was always asking them for help, and there's nothing wrong with that or anything. But being an online student really helped me to learn how to teach myself something, and also to kind of like work through some of the problems that I was having on my own. Of course, I could call my teachers if I really didn't understand, but before, I would kind of try to work it out on my own. It also taught me really, really good time management skills, because again, you have no deadlines because you're in an online school, so you really have to be self-disciplined enough to finish your school year by the end of the school year, because no one else was telling you to do it except yourself. So I did really learn really good time management skills and planning skills and organization from being an online student. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about all the cons that come with online school, because it definitely was not perfect. One of the big ones for me that I noticed right away when I joined online school is I didn't really get to compare my work with anyone else. So in public school, whenever we'd have an assignment or something, or have homework or whatever, I could always like talk to my friends and be like, oh, what did you get for number 6 or whatever it was. And you could kind of always compare if there's a question you were having trouble with and get help from your friends. In online school, that was not the case, because there was a class of 1. You were the only person in your class, so you couldn't really compare with anybody else because you were the only one doing that assignment. Another thing that was a huge downside, and something that I did notice, was that the tests and assignments were harder. So like I said in the pros, that we could use our notes for our tests and quizzes and assignments and all that stuff. That was really, really great, but because they knew that we were using our textbooks and notes for tests, they made the test a lot harder, and there was a lot more trick questions than there would normally be in public school, I found. Definitely they do still do trick questions in public school, but in online school there's definitely more, because they knew that you were using your notes, so this was definitely a huge con for me. Another big obvious downside is that you don't get to see your friends as much, you don't get to be involved in as many school activities, which definitely sucks, but I still saw my friends a decent amount. You just have to make more of an effort to see your friends. You don't just see them every single day like you would normally at school. So as long as you're okay with putting in the effort to see them, this wasn't really a downside for me because I would do that. But you really do have to take that into consideration if it's going to be a con for you. So like I was talking about before, you really do not have any deadlines or anything, which is a pro because you don't feel super stressed all the time, but it's also a con if you can't motivate yourself, because you still want to finish your course by the time it's summer, because really you don't want to be working through the summer. I mean, you can work through the summer, but it's not ideal. So that is kind of a con as well, because you need to be really self-disciplined and really self-motivated if you want to make online school work for that reason. Now I'm going to talk about the pros of public school. So obviously you get to see your friends more, which is a pro, of course, and also you get to compare with them on assignments and things like that, and ask them questions and have classes with them if you are lucky enough to have classes with your friends. So that was definitely a huge pro for me when I did go back into part-time public school, was that I got to see my friends more, which is really, really nice. This next one is really going to depend on the person and everything like that, but public school I found was a lot easier for me. So I talked about online school having much harder assignments and tests, and while certain aspects of public school are harder, like you're not going to get the open book tests, some of it were definitely easier. Like I found that the teachers really walked you through the course, at least at my school they did, and it just made it a lot easier. I had to put a lot less work in because I wasn't teaching myself. So a lot of people think online school is super easy, but I would definitely say that public school is easier. So this one is something that I don't know if it's just like specific to my school or if it's for your guys' school, but I thought I would mention it. So at public school I did get to rewrite a lot more tests or quizzes or things like that. Like my teachers, all the teachers in my school had to allow students to rewrite a unit test if they wanted to. I mean, you'd have to do some work, like you'd have to do some like extra makeup assignments for the teacher in order for them to allow you to redo it, but they did have to let you redo it. And in online school I really sometimes wasn't allowed to redo things. It really depended on the teacher and if they wanted to allow you that, so it really wasn't guaranteed. So a big con when it comes to public school for me was that you couldn't work ahead, which was really annoying. I always wanted to work ahead, especially even before I started online school, and then especially after I came back for certain classes, it would drive me crazy how much time that they were wasting, and I thought that we could just be working ahead. But when you're in public school, you're not going to be able to finish early. You're going to finish when the semester is over, which kind of sucks a little bit, especially if you are like me and you like to work ahead a little bit. The next thing is kind of related to that in some sense. So if you really understand something, you can't move on. So sometimes maybe if there's kids in your class who don't understand and your teacher's spending more time on something and you're kind of bored a little bit and you really understand the concept, you can't work ahead because you just have to go with where the teacher is going. And it works the other way too. So if you don't understand something but your teacher's deciding to keep on going ahead, then you can't really spend more time on something because, again, you have to work at your teacher's pace. Another big con for me was group work. I know not a lot of people like group work, and I am definitely one of those people, because if you try hard in school and you like to put the work in for something, then 9 times out of 10 you are going to be like just doing the entire group project for everyone else. I know that that's happened to me tons of times. So being in public school, I really hated that, and I really didn't like having to do group work, which is why online was such a good thing for me, because I didn't have to do that group work. The last con that I could think of when it comes to public school is sometimes you can get really bad teachers, and I know that sometimes you can try to switch out of their class, but sometimes it's just not possible. So it's definitely a huge con. If you get a bad teacher, you're kind of stuck with them for the rest of the semester. But in online, if you have a teacher that you're not really responding to, or you don't really understand the way they explain things to you, which happened to me a couple of times, you can just switch your teachers, or at least in my online program, you could just switch to another teacher because they had so many teachers. And you can't really do that in public school, so if you don't understand how your teacher is teaching, I mean, you're kind of just stuck in a tough situation. So that was all of my kind of things that I wanted to talk about, all the pros of everything and all the cons of everything. I really hope that you guys kind of learned a little bit throughout this video about online school and kind of how it compares to public school if you are interested in online school, and maybe this helped you a little bit. I do want to make some more videos about online school if it is something you guys are interested in, like things that you should know before going into online school or what to expect from it, because I definitely have learned a lot from being online schooled. So if that is something that you guys are interested in, definitely comment down below and give this video a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye!